Hi, welcome to my review of Halloween Kills. The events of this film pick up exactly where we left off from Halloween 2018. It all takes place in the same night, and the story that's being told here is where the people of Haddonfield and past victims band together to finally try and take down and stop Michael Myers for good. So I was very interested to go back and revisit Halloween Kills. I haven't seen it for a full year from when it came out, and the first time I came out of seeing this, I was extremely disappointed by it. I felt there were so many things wrong with the script, so many moments, so much dialogue in it that I didn't like. And I think overall, the things I didn't like stopped me from really acknowledging the few things in this movie that I actually do think are quite good. So having put a bit of time between that first viewing experience and now, watching it again, there are actually a few things here that I do quite like. But overall, unfortunately, I really do still think there is a lot wrong with this movie. So firstly, getting into the things that I really did like here, those opening scenes where we go back to that original Halloween night and the film adds in all these additional little plot details and events that occurred on that same night, I think was a really nice addition to bring into this Halloween universe. I think because firstly it helps us connect the events of what happened in that original with everything that's going on now. And it also helped to flesh out the character arc of Officer Hawkins as well, which I liked. The young actor who plays the version of him 40 years beforehand, I think was actually really amazing in this film. And that first scene where him and his partner are basically caught suddenly by Michael Myers in the house, it's quite an emotional scene, and it made me like the current version of the character more as well. So I really liked that addition brought in here. As well, it's actually amazing how they were managed to really recreate the feel and the atmosphere and just the look from that original film. So I really enjoyed seeing this. I was happy to go back and spend a good 10-15 minutes back putting little additions in here that make that a bits of that original film better, in my opinion. So I think this was a really great way to start off the movie. We then go back forward to the present day where, of course, once again, Michael has found a way to cheat death and find his way out of this burning house. The visuals of when Michael walks out of the house with the flames and the firefighters just stop and look at him, it looks incredible. It's an insane scene that plays out as well. But visually, it really is quite impressive. And up till this point, I was really enjoying myself. Especially when then you get into this absolute carnage that goes down with all the firefighters. And that's one thing about this movie. It is absolutely full to the brim with gore and bloody violence. If that is your thing, you will find a lot of entertainment in this film. There is not a 10-minute stretch where you do not have some kind of gnarly kill taking place on screen. It was actually unbelievable how much they ramped it up from all of the previous movies in this franchise. This has to be the most violent one out of all of them, I think. And whilst it does feel a little bit over the top at times, I think some bits perhaps take it a little bit too far, especially when you're trying to capture the feel from the original as well. Tonally, it feels a little bit strange when you put it just after those scenes. But overall, the practical work they've used on them does look amazing. And yeah, it's nasty. So if you enjoy that, you will definitely find some entertainment here. So here in this story, they've decided to bring in a lot of those old characters that featured in the original. So you've got Lindsay back here, you've got Tommy, the two kids that were being babysat, you've got Sheriff Brackett's here. And this is really what brings me to some of my problems with Halloween Kills, is that it effectively sidelines a lot of the good characters that we built up in Halloween 2018, especially Alison. In this film, she gets such a small amount of screen time, and she's a character and an actress that I really like. And where she is in this film, she's really good, but they've only allowed her a few scenes here to make way for this story arc involving Tommy and rounding up all of this this group of people to take on Michael Myers. And it really doesn't help as well that I think the actor that is playing Tommy looks a little bit uncomfortable in the role. I don't know if it's because, I think it probably is more about the way the character's been written and a lot of the dialogue. It didn't really work for me. And he, as I said, he just looks a little bit uncomfortable carrying this role. So I think the film ended up feeling quite messy and too many plot lines were put in here. And again, here there's a load of that really bad dialogue, but in Halloween Kills, even worse than in 2018. So many lines in this film don't feel at all like natural conversation. I mean, even just thinking of Laurie in this film now, I can't really remember many scenes where she actually has a normal conversation. It's like a lot of big lines about how she's going to take down Michael and killing off evil and we need to stop this and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't, I don't feel like I can really connect to her because she doesn't feel like a normal person you would meet, if that makes sense. And you get that with this character of Tommy as well. He feels like a very one-dimensional character who's just bursting at the seams with anger about Michael, and you don't even really get the understanding of why he's as emotional about it as Laurie is in this film, especially as that's one of the issues I have with Laurie's character in these series of movies, is that I don't feel like I can easily buy into the fact that she's dedicated so much of her life to this cause of taking out Michael. And even more so here with Tommy, that he was just a kid in this original. He barely, I don't even think he really saw much of what was going on, but yet he talks about it like it's been the one thing that's basically kept him up at night for 40 years. And I don't know if it's just the way he's been written or his performance, but I just could not buy into it here. And this writing for Laurie's, her dialogue and her character arc, again, is made worse by the fact you have it so that she thinks that everything is connected to her. She thinks Michael is doing all of these things just to get to her, to take her out or whatever she believes. And then you finally get this line of dialogue from the sheriff who says, oh no, like this was not about you at all. The only reason he's back here is because of this whole weird subplot we had in the previous entry with Dr. Sartain. So it's like all of her arc up to here has been dedicated to the fact that she's preparing to have to take on him herself because it's all about her, and actually none of it was. And that's just a bad character arc for Laurie to have, in my opinion. If they wanted to have it so that she was the focus where she's warning all of the people in this town and she's the one that truly understands the danger that Michael brings and that how he should really be feared because she's the one that got away and saw what took place on that Halloween night, that would be fine. But having her appear kind of deluded about thinking that this whole sequence of events is revolving around her was just a terrible character arc for her story. And then we get to this whole horrible sequence in the hospital, which was the main thing I could remember about this, to be honest. I think this was the thing. This whole sequence is really what made me leave thinking that this was just a terrible film. The arc they have where you've got these two patients have escaped and people have seen him, so it shows up on the news at some point that you see that when this bus crash happened, you've got these two patients, one of them Michael and one of them just another patient, and they look completely different. Michael is very tall and slim, the other guy is a much shorter, stockier guy, and there's no way you can mistake the two. As well, Michael's already been seen a number of times at this point. He's wearing a mask, a big sort of blue boiler suit. And you have this entire mob of people in the hospital mistake Michael Myers for this innocent patient. And this is, number one, it's a really bad arc because it makes it seem like everybody here that we're following is completely stupid. They're completely blinded by rage. The fact that Tommy leads this angry mob after this patient, even though he looks nothing like him. Like, why would he have walked into a busy hospital? Why would he be running on foot from people? Like, when has Michael Myers been running from people in any of these films? Never. So you've got this scared looking guy running from a mob that he's leading. I just have no idea how they could ever have confused the two characters, which it comes across as completely ridiculous and makes all of our lead characters, all these brought back characters like Tommy, completely unlikable. And then by concluding this sequence with this really kind of mean-spirited and nasty plot line where the patient basically sees no way out but to jump to his own death to escape this mob of people. And when you have that concluding scene where they realise what they've done and nothing really happens as a result of it, I hated that. I hated that as a plot line in the film. The fact as well that they kind of say, look at all this chaos, this has been brought on by Michael, look what he's done to all of us. It's like, well, no, not really. The only reason this has happened is because you're all stupid and you haven't been able to identify that this person looks nothing like Michael Myers in any way, or does not act like Michael Myers in any way at all. That's why this has happened. Michael is in a completely separate place right now and basically has nothing to do with him. So I absolutely hated this plot line. And if they remove from this, I probably would have this film a whole grade up from what it is. This was the thing that I left thinking that this was just a terrible, long, drawn-out plot line in the movie. Thankfully, after that whole nasty plot line at the hospital is done with, though, the film does pick up a little bit after this, where we have the scene where Cameron and Alison are over at the Myers house and have that confrontation with Michael. It's a very brutal, very dark scene, and I did quite enjoy the rest of the sequences in this film. I think it was quite actually a gut punch, Cameron being killed as well, especially because he tries to redeem himself in some way from the events that took place before, where he tries to really involve himself with Alison and says he will do anything to be here with her, and comes through this nightmare with her effectively. I did like that plot line for him, so having him killed at the end of this was a bit of a gut punch. But just, you know, the way this whole scene in the house is played out, quite effective. I did quite like as well where Karen then has to draw out Michael Myers using the mask out onto the street to effectively trick him so that this group are going to come on and kill him. But once again, for some reason, that bad writing and that bad plotting comes back in again, where you've shown these characters, you know, absolutely, you know, in a complete state of rage throughout all of this story. They are so passionate about killing this guy, taking him out, making sure he can never come back. And the most they do to him is prod him with a gardening fork and hit him once with a bat. And seemingly either they think that's enough and then they decide to look away. And once again, of course, Michael gets the upper hand, and in a completely ridiculously over the top carnage-filled scene, he takes everybody out, goes back up to the house and kills Karen. It was an underwhelming ending to the film, to say the least. And it feels like, again, they're going to have to start again in some ways with Halloween Ends, kind of creating a new interesting plot to put back in here, because everything that was set up was concluded in this one, and in the worst possible way, in my opinion. So yeah, there's all my thoughts for you on Halloween Kills. It's not a good film, if we're being honest. It's not a good film. It's still entertaining. I think I still happily pass the time watching this. It's an hour and 40. I wasn't finding myself looking at my phone or anything. I was quite happy enough to go over and watch it. But when you break this down, looking at the plot, the story, the dialogue, some of these characters, it falls apart in so many areas and is an extremely disappointing entry in the Halloween franchise. I'm going to do a big ranking soon of all of them together, all 13 of the entries, and I really do think, to be honest, this is going to feature quite low down on that list. So overall, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. On my initial watch, I only gave this a 2, but I'm going to bump it up just because there were more things that I enjoyed this time around. I think the good things in this I was able to appreciate just a little bit more, because it wasn't such a shock seeing all of the really bad stuff throughout this movie. So yeah, overall a 2.5 out of 5. So please comment below and let me know what you thought of Halloween Kills. Maybe you like it a little bit more than I did and thought I was being a little bit harsh on the film, but I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. I'm hopefully going to be getting out my Halloween Ends review either on Sunday or Monday, if life goes to plan. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that now, so I'll be getting all my thoughts out on that. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my movie review, and I'll see you next time.